everybody. We are on the best coast. That's the West Coast. That's what people round here say. John Hinoff and Jeremy Shaw with you at Long Beach for the just under 2 mile 11 corner classic Long Beach Grand Prix circuit. Sweeping across the start-finish line on that curving start-finish straight to an action area at turn 1, the end of Shoreline Drive. Round the back of the aquarium and the back of the fountain there. Slight change at turns 6, 8 and 9, which is meant for a much quicker circuit and quicker lap times. This weekend already. Exceptionally hot, getting up towards triple digits in the Fahrenheit scale, although that's dropped a wee bit now, but the temperature still up in the 120s Fahrenheit on the track. Jeremy Shaw is with me in the Hagerty Global Broadcast Centre today. The green flag has just been thrown for the GTD part of qualifying, Jeremy.
Yes, indeed, and great to be back on the West Coast again. Good news for me, certainly, and it is toasty here in Southern California. The end of this week, the early part of the week, it was about 35 degrees cooler in the Fahrenheit scale, massively cooler, and it's supposed to be a lot cooler again the early part of next week. But now it's glorious, maybe even a bit too hot for some people perhaps, but hey, give me hot over cold any day, John.
That's why you stayed out here, isn't it? After all those years in the UK. At IMSA Radio, if you want to be getting in touch with us, a 15-minute session with both the GTDs and the GTD Pros. These are GT3 cars for those of you listening trackside who might not know that. It's a global formula. All bar the number 3 Corvette, actually, is... on pit lane, these on the track at the moment are GT3 cars. That's a GT Le Mans car that's been balanced back to GT3 times, but they are all GT3 cars other than that. So the Pro and the AM, or the Pro and GTD versions, the red cars are the Pro, the red numbered cars are the Pros, the greens are the GTDs. That's all about the driver categories rather than the vehicles. And in fact, in the first practice session earlier on yesterday, we had 3 GTD cars that were running on at quicker times than the GTD Pros. Sort of reset itself a little bit later on in the second practice session, but there's no reason at all why any of the GTD AMs with their fast drivers in might not be able to usurp the GTD Pro categories. 6 GTD Pros, 14 GTDs in this, the most numerate of the classes this weekend. We also have the DPIs, which will come next. And a fairly eventful couple of sessions, Jeremy, with at least one of the GTD cars in the wall, the number 57 Russell Ward Mercedes in the wall earlier on today.
Yeah, there's a few sort of minor incidents, and that actually incident did not actually cause a red flag. He was able to get it back to the pit lane, but left some debris around, which caused some track clean-up afterwards. Don't know, honestly, what the state of that car is for this session. Well, I do know because it's out on track now. So it's clearly everything has been restored there to rude health. There's an off for the number 59 Crucial Motorsport McLaren. That's another car that had an incident this morning. It's actually off briefly in turn 1.
Yeah, a run on at turn 1 is not the most unusual thing to see on the timing and scoring page. Thought about doing a flick turn in that number 59, the metallic bronze, but then changed. There was a change of heart by the driver there of that car, which may not have been the worst idea. That there's a huge amount of grip out there at the moment because. Quite simply because of the heat and how much rubber has been but there's also an awful lot of sealant down at various parts of this track, and therefore there's a lot of grip on the circuit.
Yeah, not so sure about sealant, John, but the track's very different to what it was this morning. The first, generally speaking, on a Grand Prix of Long Beach weekend, the IMSA WeatherTech Championship cars are sort of the track cleaners, if you like. They generally go out at, it was 7:30 in the morning or some ridiculous time that the first practice session would be. But this year, with Porsche Carrera Cup joining the Long Beach schedule for the first time, in the series, just second year of its existence, they had the honour of being first out on the track this morning. It was 7:45, I think it was, and the track was really tricky because one of the highlights for many people of this race weekend in Long Beach is the fact that the drifters are out there burning up rubber, burning up the track, and just having a good time and throwing the cars all over the road. But with those super sticky tyres, they lay a lot of rubber down that has to get pulled up again for when the racing series cars get on track. So from when the WeatherTech cars went out, I think it was 9:15 this morning, the Porsches had been out, so they'd cleaned up the track considerably. And during that first session, I spoke to various drivers after that Carrera Cup session, and the track was just undrivable in the first part of the session, and it just massively different as the session went on. And I think they were sort of 2 or 3 seconds quicker when out for their second practice session a couple of hours later on, many of the cars. And for the WeatherTech cars, well, similar story. The times in the second session a lot faster than the first, and that progression is likely to continue, and it is indeed already I think likely to continue into this session. The fastest time in the 2 practice sessions so far was a 1 minute 18.874. That was by Matthew Jaminet in the Pfaff Motorsports Porsche. The qualifying lap record in GTD, which was last year, was Lawrence Vantour in the points scoring session was a 1:18.957. And already in this session now, Ross Gunn has eclipsed that. So even though it was an asterisk last year, because that time that was set by Lawrence Vantour did not clinch in pole position, because last year we had this really complicated system where the silver or bronze driver would go out and qualify the car. That would set the grid positions for the race, therefore the pole position. But after that, the GTD field would go out again with a pro driver at the helm, and that was just to score points. Well, thankfully, that system has gone away for this season, so we just got the one single GTD qualifying session, and already the lap record has been broken by Madison Snow in that Paul Miller Racing BMW M4 GT3 at 1:18.6. 1:18.9, I think it was, and fastest overall now is Matthew Jaminet at 1:18.3 in the Pfaff Porsche.
The cause célèbre this morning, as far as race control was concerned, was the pit exits, either peeling out onto the track down towards turn 1 too early, or indeed some drivers being called for dropping into the pit lane as they were driving down to turn 1, and already 3 cars have had lap times invalidated for that in this qualifying session. It was the 14, the 79 and the 23 cars. That's the car numbers, 14, 79 and 23, and that in that case was the Vassar Sullivan Pro Lexus, the Pro WeatherTech Racing Mercedes AMG GT3, and that is a Mercedes. I know that has normally been a Porsche, but Koopman McNeil with Raffaele Marciello alongside him this weekend have now gone to the AMG for the rest of the season. What was the other one I said? The 23 is the Heart of Racing Aston Martin. That is the Ross Gunn car as well. But I've got a feeling...
That's why that car lost its time then.
Yes, okay. Exactly so. Exactly so. And with just 5 minutes to go, if you've got any speed, now's the time to show it at IMSA Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with us, remind if you are listening on IMSA Radio already, and we don't often say that, by all means tune away from us, but just hit the live video button instead, because whether you're in the US or further afield, the international TV, the world feed, is available to everyone without having to sign up for any subscriptions. And that is the same for every IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship qualifying session once again this season. Good morning to Sarah Rigby up in Crewe in the northwest of England. That's Bentley country, cheering for Aston Martin and Ross Gunn, of course, this weekend. Big fan of the Banbury brand. Now, let's see who's just improved. Mathieu Jaminet going quickly. It is the BMW of Conor De Philippi, the number 25. Now, this is the Singleton car from what is now called M Racing RLL, isn't it? In recognition of the 50th anniversary of BMW M Performance. Conor De Philippi by a full half a tenth, Jeremy, from Mathieu Jaminet in the number 9 FAF Porsche. That's the plaid Porsche, going through turn number 5 now and down to the newly reprofiled turn 6. Goes all the way at the wall on the right hand side before he cuts in, and that's where there's some sealant down there. Very sticky on the track walk earlier on in the weekend. Turn 8, the curb has been flattened right down. That was pushed back a little, I think last year, maybe the year before. But it's turn 9 where there's a huge amount of time to be made up at the end of Seaside. Wall's gone back and the curbs have been flattened there. It gives a much better view through the corner as well. Huge slide from Jaminet as he comes through turn 10 into 11, and somehow he hangs onto it as he comes to the line with 3 minutes to go and stops the clock with a... Now, did that improve? I don't think it did, Jeremy.
No,
it did.
It cost him about 0.4 of a second, I think, on that slide there in the final couple of corners there. That was a massive slide. He was watching the drifters last night quite clearly, and that cost him a fair bit of time. He had gone purple in sector 2. He was personal best in sector 1, but threw it all away there quite literally as he threw that car sideways coming through that penultimate corner. So he'll have to do it again.
Hello in the early hours of the morning, the racing blog, still awake in London. Nothing beats a bit of IMSA at Long Beach, could do with some of that Californian sun. Supposed to be a decent weekend in the UK, although very chilly, into minus numbers overnight on the centigrade scale for most of the UK, down to -4 in the eastern parts of England. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be very chilly. And don't forget, if you are listening on IMSARadio.com, if you go to the left-hand side for the live video, you'll get that whether you're in the US or on the international for this session. And we've still got to set the pole position in DPI. That comes next. 1 3/4 minutes to go. Conor De Philippi is in the pits. Jaminet will have one more lap after this one. Then it's Jordan Taylor for Corvette, Aston Martin and Ross Gunn coming through turn 5 now. Doesn't take too much curb there. Jimmy Johnson with a bit of a problem there earlier on in the IndyCar session when he ground out the bottom of the car going over those stuck down curbs. Now over the top of the brow, he's on Pine at the moment. He'll turn right on the East Seaside. Underneath the bridge that goes to the conference centre as he heads down the back straight. Very leery moment for Heart of Racing Aston Martin, completely sideways coming through 5.
Turn 9 looks the same as last year to me. I can't see the difference there, to be honest, John.
Well, apparently they've pulled the wall back, and I
think they did that a couple of years ago. They might have, maybe they flattened the curb.
Maybe they flattened the curb as well. There was a lot of talk about sight lines and how much quicker it was through there. The turn 6 is a little, it's a bit bizarre really, because they've pulled the curb out on the entrance to it and pushed it back on the exit. But they've also curved the curbs. They've had some special blocks cast that are in a curved radius, so rather than just having straight lines with a point, there's 2 curves which actually go round to the left hand side. 2 seconds to go, so last laps. If you're on the lap now, it will count. Brickware Racing's NSX, formerly the Compass car and the Gradient car before that. And that car in traffic. In fact, the two NSXs together, 66 Gradient car with a new livery this weekend. Weren't expecting to see that car here. Only entered for the long races, but that car with an additional entry. Smart Miller in that car for this session.
Yeah, sharing the car with Super Mario Farnbacher this weekend. So Till Bechtolsheimer not at the wheel of that Gradient car. Jordan Taylor to the top at the checkered flag.
Right at the checker.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and that's a 1:18.0. That's not hanging about, Jeremy.
No, that's not. I mean, the old qualifying lap record here for GTD was a 1:18.957 set by the pro teams last year. That was Lawrence Vanthoor in the Porsche. The race lap record is a 1:20.1, so 2 full seconds quicker than the race lap record. That was a great lap by Jordan Taylor. And the Corvette, of course, that's the car that won last time out at Sebring. It's in somewhat controversial circumstances because the car got a balance of performance break during the week at Sebring, ended up winning the race, and by quite a few rival teams, according to the rival teams thinking, by a relatively comfortable margin. And there was a fairly major inquiry in the IMSA technical team about that, and there has been another adjustment to the Corvette coming into this weekend after Sebring. A bit of weight added to the Corvette, 10 kilograms, but also a smaller restrictor as well by almost half, by 0.4 of a millimeter down to 41.6. So less air into the engine equals less horsepower as well. So clearly, though, it's very, very close to match because we've got the top 3 cars, a Chevrolet, a BMW of the local driver, Conor De Filippi, and the Porsche of Matthew Jaminet, covered by a fraction over a tenth of a second at the top of the charts.
Just a pointer ahead, we have got to visit CaymanIsland.com Porsche Carrera Cup North America races this weekend. We'll have those for you live and free as well with the world feed pictures here on IMSARadio.com. And we'll talk you through that when we get to it. But I have had a question, Jeremy, from Michael Ducharme about what happens. For example, Cooper McNeil and Jack Hawksworth are in the GTD field with GTD Pro cars. Do they get moved ahead of Madison Snow, who's qualified on pole position for Paul Miller Racing in their BMW?
Nope.
Right, so it's where they start is where they start. Where they qualified is where they start.
Yes.
Okay. That seems reasonable. Congratulations to Paul Miller Racing. That's their first BMW pole position. Only got their car in time for Sebring. That's 36-hour swing for the first 2 races of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season. 2 of the longest races of the year. In fact, the 2 longest races of the year. Going into one of our shortest races of the year. 100 minutes on Saturday afternoon, a little bit earlier than it has been in recent years. The 2 Porsche races, one just before that, and then one after the IndyCar race on Sunday. So if you're waiting for the second Porsche race, particularly if in Europe, you're going to have to be sitting up late into the morning on Monday morning for that one. Hello to Paul Cruz in Vermont, enjoying the qualifying coverage. Jordan Taylor staying in the car with that very distinctive red and white helmet. There are very specific rules about when you can and can't get out the car, and the crew aren't allowed to touch the car until they're told to, even to open the door to get him some fresh air. Not allowed to do that until they're cleared by IMSA. Checkered flag is out. So let's run down the times in GTD. We mentioned Paul Miller Racing and the BMW. It's a BMW 1-2 with Turner Motorsports number 96. That's the white, red and blue Liqui Moly car. Robbie Foley with the time there. It'll be Mike Skeen for Team Korthoff Motorsport in third position. And we've got to say hello to Herb Korthoff. Not here this weekend. He's taking on the team on his own now. That's why it's just Korthoff. Not very well at the moment, and is sitting, watching and listening in hospital. Herb, we hope you get well soon. Pneumonia, not a nice thing to have, but hopefully you're getting good rest, and that's a great result for the team in third position. Then it's Crucial Motorsport with the 59 McLaren. That's the metallic bronze car, and rounding up the top.
Another local driver there, John
Yes.
Miller, by the way.
Good point, yeah.
Orange, California.
Russell Ward, and in the AMG number 57 and the 66 Gradient Racing NSX make up the top 6, whilst at the top, as Jeremy mentioned, very tight indeed, Corvette, BMW, Porsche, Aston Martin, the top 4 within 0.3 of a second, the top 3 within 1/10 of a second. Variety is very much, Jeremy, the spice of life in GTD.
It is, isn't it? And this morning I joined Terry and Ralph in the commentary box here at the track in the newly renamed, by the way, Bruce Flanders commentary tower, or commentary tower, I think it's something like that. Yeah, it's named after Bruce Flanders, who passed away not too long ago, and was the voice of the Grand Prix of Long Beach for many, many years. So it was, everybody misses Bruce, but great to see that named in his memory. And it's what we're talking about.
Sorry. Variety being the spice of life.
Variety, yeah. And during the session this morning, there were 7 different manufacturers of cars in the top 7 positions in the GTD ranks overall. Thanks for reminding me of that one. Sorry about that. But so, that shows, I think, how closely matched it all is in the GTD ranks there. It's super, super tight, and it's down to who gets a lap together. I mean, I think it's a great lap from Colin De Filippi. He just did 6 laps total in that session in the BMW M Team RLL M4 GT3. Parked it. Of course, the local hero is Colin De Filippi from San Clemente, California. So, well, it should be only 25 miles away, although it took some people to get to the RRDC dinner last night, 2 hours to make that 25 miles or so, because of so many accidents on the legendary 405 freeway. And that was going against the most of the traffic, by the way. But Colin De Filippi has never had much luck here on the streets of Long Beach, but we'll start second for tomorrow's race, assuming there are no changes in the post-qualifying technical inspection.
Just to remind you that we had 3 cars that invalidated their laps on lap 3, including Ross Gunn. We also had the WeatherTech AMG and the number 14 Lexus, the Pro Lexus. Lap 6 was lost for the number... Oh, I've just scrolled down and lost. The number 70 Inception Racing McLaren. And again, that's trackside pick exit violation. And the 32 on that same lap, which is the Korthoff Motorsport machine with Mike Skeen and Stephen McAleer. Mike, despite that, still getting well up the field. Now, that was unlikely to have been coming out of the pits at that point. That would have been dropping their right-hand side Michelin tyres over the blend line before they turned in to turn 1 and going too far across. That was taken a dim view of earlier on in the practice sessions. Race control set their stall out early, but clearly 1 or 2 of the drivers have still not learned their lessons, Jeremy, and times were lost there, including Ross Gunn's best time in the Aston Martin.
That's right, John. And the pit lane is on the right-hand side of Shoreline Drive, and so the first turn is a left-hander. The pit lane exit, therefore, is parallel to the racing line going into that first corner. Drivers coming out of the pits have to go well beyond the regular turn-in point on the racetrack before they can blend across onto the racetrack itself. Drivers on track are not allowed to go over that double line, because if they do, there is an advantage to be gained, obviously, because going wider to the right gives them more of an arc through the left-hand corner, therefore can carry more speed theoretically. So that is why there is that very clear demarcation, and the race officials will be very, very tight about that. They'll be calling a lot of penalties all the way through the day, both in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by the Cayman Islands as well. So that sounds cool, doesn't it?
That was the unmistakable revving V8 of the Cadillac heading out, and that was the Mustang sampling car as they head out on the track. So the final 15 minutes of qualifying to set pole position. And while we're talking about race control, we must mention the loss of one of the great characters of IMSA's race control through the years in the American Le Mans Series and in the IMSA era, and that's Marty Kaufman, who lost his battle with illness a few days ago now, and we pass on our condolences to Jan, his wife, and much love, Jan, to you and the family and the many friends of Marty Kaufman down through the years. He was described by Johnny Morlam to me as one of the hardest guys he'd ever raced under as race director, but ultimately the fairest. And I think we all have great memories of Marty down through the years. Did an awful lot to shape the sort of sessions we're seeing now, these quick fire sessions which were brought in the ALMS period under Marty's tutelage, and he will be a big loss to the racing community, of course a bigger one to his family and friends. Marty Kaufman, who died recently. So the qualifying session then will take about a lap or maybe two to get underway properly in terms of getting some heat into the tyres. The pressures will have been discussed on the pit wall, and to see if there's any way that they can try and mitigate this very high track temperature, although it's dropped down almost 10 degrees Fahrenheit since the start of this session. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us. Full coverage tomorrow as well of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Visit Cayman Islands, plus the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship 100 minutes. We'll have Michelin Countdown to Green on IMSA Radio, then the full race live, then Michelin Post Race Tech, along with our VP Racing Fuels in-race updates, and of course our Porsche keys to the race, all coming your way tomorrow. Right on the line there for the number 5 of Tristan Fortier as he went down into turn 1. Meantime, at turn number 8, the red and white number 31. That is the Whelen Engineering Cadillac. That's just getting up to speed. Pipo Derani took that car out. He loves this place. Down to turn 9 now. Now coming to the end of the lap. See some times coming through in a moment. The glorious sound of the rumbling V8. David Salters, the man at the head of Acura and HPD's racing performance in the States. He's the president and technical director, saying that this is not the best track for the Acura. They don't like pointy, squirty. They're much happier on the medium and faster corners, but they're there to fight, and they were looking for 10 positions. And here comes the first of the Acuras to the line for a sensible time. It is the Wayne Taylor racing car, the Konica Minolta machine. Oh, right to the wall at turn 1 for Mustang Samples number 5, Tristan Fortier, the black and grey car.
Yeah, that's the way you get a lap time around here. You need absolutely every available fraction of an inch of the racetrack. That's what Tristan Fortier doing again there at turn 5. Fabulous stuff, this. But
Yeah.
Pipo Derani is ahead of him on the racetrack, going a little bit quicker. And goes to the top, Pipo Derani, 1 minute 10.769 for the Brazilian. That is the fastest time of the day so far. The quickest time was by Sebastian Bourdais in session number 2, a 1:10.9. And say the old qualifying record, the old qualifying record was set back in 2019 actually by Elio Castro Neves in the Acura, a 1:11.3. The fastest time last year when the cars were here was Felipe Nasr, 1:11.6. So hugely faster this year. Tom Blomqvist into second position for Meyer Shank Racing, the Sirius XM Acura car number 60, just less than a tenth of a second behind in second position. Whoops, he's had a spin.
Straight on at turn 1, Jeremy. Not the first person nor the last, I suspect, this weekend for Tom Blomqvist. But that was after he'd improved his lap time. 0.079 between Durrani and Blomqvist, with Albuquerque a bit further behind in the Konica Minolta Cadillac. And did he brush the wall at the exit of 5? Oh yes, he did. White wall tyres on certainly the left rear Michelin of that normally immaculate blue and black car. It's going to be a bit scuffed down the left hand side.
Yeah, white wall tyres and a black wall, I think, is probably the well, that was close as well there by Pipo Derani, car number 31. Interesting, isn't it, that Pipo Derani should be qualifying the wheel and engineering car for Action Express Racing, with Tristan Nunez taking what will be the final stint in the 100-minute race. And the teams here, some of them employing a slightly different tactic than they would otherwise perhaps do, sending out their faster driver for the qualifying session. He, of course, then will have to start the race, and it'll be down to the second driver to bring it home from there. But with this 100-minute race, lots of strategic possibilities here, but sometimes you'd have to take a bit of a gamble to pull off something as well. It's an interesting race length here, 100 minutes. The DPI cars, certainly the Cadillacs, tell me that they cannot get to they cannot complete this race going flat out on just one pit stop, but it has been a one-stopper that has won this race for the last 2 years. So lots of strategy to be played out.
Coming up to 3 o'clock in the morning in Belgium, where Gert van Kamp is listening in on radio. Looking forward to the street race. He says GTD and DPI on a street race, it's something special. Don't forget, you can be watching as well now, Gert, if you're not already. Just hit the live video button on imsaradio.com or go to imsa.tv. Halfway through this session, Pipo Derani leads for Whelen Engineering in the Cadillac from JDC Miller Motorsports. Tristan Vautier in the Acura in the Cadillac number 5, but it is the Acura that goes into second place. The Meyer Shank Racing Acura, the number 60 of young European sensation Tom Blomqvist, ahead of Vautier, then Albuquerque in the Konica Minolta Acura, the number 10, just been in the wall at 5 with a little brush. Then 2 more Cadillacs, Alex Lynn and Sebastian Bourdais in the 02 and the 01. Those are the 2 Chip Ganassi run cars. 02 is the black with dark red from the windscreen back, and the 01 is the more white car. That's how you pick those 2 apart. 6.5 to go. Here comes Alex Lynn then through the final couple of corners, gets the car tucked into the wall at turn 10, and now tries to get it to rotate into the corner, puts all of the steering lock on out towards the wall and down towards the line. It'll be 6 minutes to go. 1:10.726, and another mistake at turn 1, this time for the number 5. That's Tristan Vautier. Just gone back up into second position on that last lap.
Yep, and then got a little bit greedy down turn 1, carried a little bit too much speed, he felt, going into the corner, so abandoned ship there, turn right instead of left, go down to the escape road, turn it around and carry on again. Yeah, he just aborted that the last possible second. If you'd left it a split second later, he'd have been in that wall on the exit of that corner. Good thinking there by Tristan Vautier, but as you say, he's up into second position then. But what a lap by Pipo Derani. 1:10.001, he improved and then has brought that car into the pits already with he's been in the pits for a couple of minutes, and there's still 5 minutes remaining in this session.
Jeremy, are you surprised? He's just done a 70-second lap in that car, and he's nearly half a second ahead of the field. The rest of the field is bunched up behind him, but he's got over 4 tenths, just over 4 tenths of a second between himself and the field. That is a stunning lap once again by the Brazilian driver for Whelen Engineering. Ding dong, Durrani calling.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive there by Pipo, and no one else going to get closer. There's an improvement for Philip Albuquerque in the number 10 Acura, but a 110.5. I mean, judging from last year, that would have been 8 tenths faster. Well, it was 8 tenths faster than the qualifying lap record here back in 2019 for Albuquerque, but he now finds himself 6th and last amongst the DPI cars here. Stunning. Wow, there's a good lap there by Tom Blomqvist. 110.004 for number 60. And of course, the Meyershank IndyCar, I believe, of Simon Pagenaud was fastest in the first practice session a little bit earlier this afternoon here. So it's been a great dive so far for that team. Can Blomqvist find another 3 1,000ths of a second to go faster than Durrani? And right behind him is Sebastian Bourdais.
He's going quickly
at a 110.0.
Yeah, and Bourdais going quicker still as he comes through towards the end of the lap in the 0-1 car. Here he comes to the hairpin, the black front and then the white hindquarters on that 0-1 Cadillac. Gets that big V8 running and goes to the top by half a second. 109.472, 69, under 69 and a half seconds for a sports car around here. These DPIs are the quickest sports cars in the world at the moment. Relish this, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're trackside or watching on IMSA TV around the world in the early hours in Europe. These cars are real beasts. Nothing quicker, as we saw at Sebring a couple of weeks ago. There is nothing quicker in the world of endurance racing than DPI in this IMSA category at the moment. Magnificent stuff.
Sensational, absolutely sensational. What a lap by Sebastian Bourdais. I mean, he is driving magnificently right now. He's absolutely on the crest of a confidence wave for this driving for this Chip Ganassi team. He's had a huge amount of success in all sorts of cars in the past, but hard to believe. He's 43 years old now, which certainly isn't old by any means, but generally speaking, the sort of the common thinking is that once you get past 40, you're past your prime. I'm not sure that's the case with Sebastian Bourdais.
I'm not sure.
I am sure that it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Better way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely right. And he's going for another. He's going for another quick one. No, in the pits. Bourdais in the pits. Then, after that, leaving it to his teammate. What can Alex Lynn, the relative youngster, then? What can he do in the other Chip Ganassi run Cadillac? Down through turn 8, there was maybe a couple of novels width between him and the wall there, rather than just the pieces of paper width that we've seen earlier on. Through turn 9, sets it up for the final left-hander, drags the car all the way to the left to try and open out this hairpin. Very close to the exit wall on the outside and the apex. Still a minute and a half to go. Lynn goes to second and trims that lead by a couple of tenths. It's 0-1 from 0-2 in positions 1 and 2, and Chip Ganassi Racing have locked out the front row. It's Ganassi out on the provisional front row at the moment.
Yeah, this team is seriously impressive this season. The other Cadillac teams are taking a back seat right now to the Cadillac Racing Chip Ganassi cars. Sebastian Bourdais in the pits, helmet still on. He's not going to have, maybe he is still going to have pole position, of course. His last win, he won 3 consecutive races in the IndyCar series here back in the old kart champ car days, 2005, 6 and 7 for Newman Haas Racing. A hat-trick of wins on the streets, but not, I think, since then as he tasted the fruits of victory here on Long Beach. But 15 years ago, that is a remarkable story it will be if Sebastian Bourdais can hold on. The checkered flag now is out.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Okay.
Yeah, but what he's been told is that Alex Lynn is off the pace. He's been told that his teammate has lifted off in the first and now the second sector, and with no other DPIs out. He has been told by his team he's going to be provisionally on pole position. Checkered flag is out. Now it's Sebastian Bourdais who has absolutely broken apart the qualifying lap record here. He's not just broken it, he's taken it to 20,000 feet and fired it at the ground. Quite extraordinary time by 0.3 of a second. It is a Ganassi wash at the front of the field, Jeremy.
Yeah, Sebastian Bourdais then over Alex Lynn, and almost 2 seconds, 1.8 seconds faster than the old lap record for DPI set by Helio Castroneves. 1:11.3 that was, 1:9.4 for Sebastian Bourdais. Wow.
Brilliant stuff. Behind them, Meyershank Racing is the best of the Acuras. Tom Blomqvist in the number 60 will be on the inside of row 2. He'll have Pipo Derani for company. Then it's Tristan Vautier for JDC Miller and Connington Minolta in 6th position. Earlier, Jordan Taylor for Corvette put it on GTD Pro Pole, and Madison Snow with the new Paul Miller Racing BMW, the number 1 car, is on pole for GTD. 100 minutes on the streets, Saturday night. We'll have it all for you here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV.